with the 6 habits of highly resilient, joyful, fully living people. Which brings me to the 3rd secret of highly resilient people. I would slow down, and as David says to me, slow down to sloth speed, which is not a particularly familiar speed for me in any way, shape or form, and to be present. Again, something I had not mastered in my 60 years till I met David, or even the 64th year of my life, but I've been working hard at it in the last 12 months and learning, in fact, what it's like to be present. See, when you're present, you're right here, right now. You're not worried about what's happened in the past. Excuse me. You're not worried about what's going to happen in the future, or what won't happen in the future, or what could happen in the future. Or go back to the past, go, if only I had, if I'd done this, if I'd done that. We spend our lives in the past or in the future, both of which give us anxiety, both of which trigger anything but joy, most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. So I determined this morning I woke up, today I choose joy. And then I decided I would go to the beach, because that's the other piece. When you become conscious and you start to observe your thinking, you can choose consciously to make decisions that enhance your life force, that enhance who you are. And that's my version of resilient. You know, there's a lot of information around about being resilient that involves exercising, which is true, it's important. It involves getting enough sleep, 7 hours a night if you can, and good quality sleep. That's important too. It involves meditating or being mindful. These are all things that people know. So what I was trying to do is to come up with some ways that people are not quite so familiar with. They're very simple, but people are just not so familiar with them or not very conscious of them. So it's kind of like a simple formula. And if you create these as part of a ritual every day, they'll become habits. And instead of just being resilient, you will have unknown amounts of life force. And I know this because I fell in love just a short time ago, really, given the span of my life. And I've been in love with before, but this time it seems different. And what I noticed was that no matter what was going on around me, and it is since COVID started, no matter what was going on around me, when I had this sense of life force going through me, I could deal with anything. And these are the things that help build your life force. They make you feel alive. They make you feel like life's worth living. And it doesn't really matter. Because remember, most people have been in love at some stage. And if you've never been in love, think of a movie where people are in love. And you've all seen one of those. And you know, when you're in love, what really happens, this is digressing a little, but it's still important. When you're in love with someone else, the truth is, you've actually fallen in love with yourself. And one of our core fears is that we are not worth loving. And when we fall in love, we feel so fabulous because we actually start to believe we are good enough and we are worth loving. And remember what that's like. And whether it's in a movie or in your own life, nothing is a problem. You wake up, you've got energy and vitality, things happen, you go, oh well, you live much more in the present. You hardly ever go to the past, probably tip ahead to the future a bit, but it's joyful. And you don't even have to consciously decide to be joyful, because you just are. But if we could, at those times as well, be conscious of what it is that we're telling ourselves, be conscious of the stories we're telling ourselves, we would start to be able to discern how we make ourselves feel good and joyful and loved and worthy of being loved and valued, and how we make ourselves feel like crap. And that's what's going on. You can boil almost everything down to this. And if you're very present in the moment, and if you slow down, you'll be much more conscious of how you're feeling. And that was the other thing I had to learn. I know I'm going to sound like a complete moron, but I managed to go through the vast bulk of my life without really feeling or acknowledging the feelings that I had. And to slow down, and to slow my mind down, and to become very present. And when I went to the beach, I walked slowly and I looked around me and I appreciated nature. I appreciated the waves. I looked at birds. I watched small children playing and the joy in their faces. I felt the water on my feet. I felt the sand under my feet. I felt the cool of the water, and then I went for a swim, which I always love to do. It's summer here, by the way. And so even in winter I go swimming there because I live in Queensland, which is paradise, and the water's pretty much always warm. And so that grounding that we get, which brings me to the next one.
Always look on the bright side.